Good evening. My name is Desiree Marujo, and for my fall 2018 final project, I have decided to research the Yahoo 2013-2014 data breach. I selected this topic because I, along with 3 billion other users, fell victim to this breach a few years ago, and I was just really interested in learning some more about what happened. I want to start off with cybersecurity. What is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is the protection of internet connected systems, including hardware, software, and data from cyber attacks. Cybersecurity is a leading concern for many consumers and companies. This is because many organizations have struggled and failed to keep attacks and breaches at a minimum. Oftentimes, cybersecurity takes a back seat, and the reasoning for that is because all these companies are so competitive, especially in our digital world, with being the first to put out a product or be the first to do this or do that. And oftentimes, it just unfortunately takes a backseat. So in September of 2016, Yahoo disclosed in late 2014 a data breach incident occurred affecting 500 million users. In December of 2016, Yahoo revealed more than 3 billion accounts had been compromised during an August 2013 breach. So essentially, that's their entire database. Their entire database was compromised. Although the incidents occurred within a year of each other, they are thought to not have been connected, or related. My thesis is an attempt to downplay negative impacts of the 2013-2014 data breach. Yahoo chose to maliciously withhold information from users and investors, which ultimately led to the company's demise as its own entity. And just to follow up on something in the previous slide, notice that time frame. So Yahoo, this breach occurred 2013, 2014. Nobody knew anything until it was publicly released, investors included, until 2016. Just to talk a little bit about the history of Yahoo, it was founded in 1994 by two graduate students of Stanford University, Jerry Yang and David Filo. They had originally named Yahoo Jerry and David's Guide to the World Wide Web, but as it became more popular and they started to realize that people were actually using the system, they decided to change the name to Yahoo. Yahoo, over the years, has been a primary source of use for email, but they also offered many other services. They had a search engine, a directory, a news branch, and even live streamed the NFL. So next I want to talk about Yahoo's leadership. A common theme I found was there was numerous amounts of issues with CEOs. At one point, Yahoo actually went through 5 CEOs in a matter of 5 years, which is absolutely crazy. It's unheard of. I mean, a CEO position is the highest leadership position in a company, and you expect to have that person there for some time. But anyway, Marissa Mayer became the CEO for Yahoo in 2012. And at the age of 37, she was actually the youngest CEO to ever run a Fortune 500 company. She previously worked for Google and she was sought out by Yahoo. So Yahoo was really going through some rough times, and Marissa Mayer was viewed to them as a savior coming in. So I mean, they were expecting big things from her, but unfortunately, things didn't work out as planned. Along with having issues with the CEO position, apparently there was also problems with other staff at executive management levels. So that was another issue or maybe not issue, but a challenge that she had in her role was having other good leaders in those executive roles. So now I want to talk some about the 2013 breach. So shockingly, to this day, there is still little information known about how that breach actually happened. And that is just insane. I mean, with all the technology that we have, I just can't even believe that there is such little information on that breach. InfoArmor, which is an Arizona cybersecurity firm, tells us that what happened to that information during that time frame when it was stolen is actually still unknown. And their primary job is to monitor the darker corners of the web. The stolen information that we know of includes names, birth dates, phone numbers, passwords, security questions, backup email addresses used to reset passwords. So just a whole load of stuff was compromised, and still know so little about it. It's even caused some, myself included, to wonder, is Yahoo not telling us all that they know? Because it's just so hard to believe that at this day and age, at this point, we still have such little information. 2014 breach. So we know way more about the 2014 breach than we did about the 2013 breach. There were 4 key players in that breach: Dmitry Dukoviv, Igor Sushchin, Alexei Balan, and Karim Bartov. So Dukuchi and Sushchin were both spies for the Federal Security Service. So the Federal Security Service is like what we here in the US would view as an FBI agent. So they're responsible for counterintelligence, anti-terrorism, and surveillance of the military. So they were both spies for the Russian, they call it, the short version is FSJ. Balan and Bartov were elite hackers for hire. So they were actually hired by the Russian spies as hackers for this job, if you will. So it turns out that Balan was actually on the FBI's most wanted list. He lived in the jurisdiction of FSB, but instead of them turning him in, they used him to their advantage. All right, so during the 2014 breach, they went through many ways in trying to cover their tracks. So they attempted to hide the origin of their traffic by leasing servers in numerous countries, including the US. They used services such as virtual private networks, spear phishing, and they created account authentication cookies. So spear phishing, I want to just talk a little bit about that because that's really important. It's a very important part of this breach, actually. So spear phishing is when you target specific users. You can customize whatever you're sending. And they used it in the form of an email, and it was sent to Yahoo employees. And basically, they don't know specifically why certain people were targeted. But that was essentially how they got in. Someone clicked on a spear phishing email and essentially gave them control. Areas of interest for the hackers were Yahoo's user database and their account management tool. So their database, it included proprietary and confidential technology information as well as subscriber info, and the account management tool. That the primary purpose of that was to access and edit information that had been stored in the user database. So once Balan was able to locate those areas of interest, rather, I should say, he was actually able to steal a backup copy. So now that was in their hands. And we actually learned that they had control or access, I should say, to Yahoo's computer network from sometime from 2014 through at least September of 2016. So it was quite a while that they had access to the Yahoo network. So, next, I wanted to talk about what victims should do. So, anytime you fell victim to a data breach, which hopefully isn't often, a couple things to keep in mind are to update your passwords on all of your platforms, enable two-factor authentication, delete any unneeded emails, and beware of phishing, especially ones in relation to security notifications. So, that's really important because a lot of times after there's an issue with some sort of security, people are so quick to, if they see some sort of security notification, to click on it. And that's not always the best thing. Deleting unneeded emails, that's important because let's say they compromised your username, password, whatever the case may be, and you use that for other logins. If you have emails from those places, it's likely that they can try that same password username combination with that. So it's little things like that. The two-factor authentication, that's just, that just gives you an opportunity to have an extra layer of security. And of course, updating your passwords, that's always important. So, Yahoo faced a lot of fines and lawsuits after all this occurred. I'm only going to go into that just a little bit. They were fined $35 million by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, and that fine was more so because they did not notify their investors. Um, they were really upset about that because, again, they found out the same time it was publicly released, which was not good. They also faced a class action lawsuit because of basically their terms and conditions and their privacy disclosures. So they had just a lot of misleading pieces of information on there. Really stated how they were committed to security, and they went on and on and on about it. And long story short, they argued Yahoo was unconscionable. So basically, in the state of California, if you can prove that a company is being just that, that is a reason to win a lawsuit. Verizon buyout. So prior to the two separate breach incidents, Verizon had actually been interested in purchasing Yahoo, and there was some discussion about it, but nothing ever came about it at that point. So in June of 2017, they finally came to an agreement. Verizon did purchase Yahoo. Yahoo was obviously going through a lot of bad times at that point, especially with the breach, and they bought them out for 4.48 billion dollars. So initially the deal was going to be for 4.83, but after those breaches were disclosed, they wanted a discount, so they asked for 350 million less than what they were originally going to offer. And not only does Verizon now have Yahoo, but they also acquired AOL a few years back, so they wound up branching out and out of their brand and have Oath, which is a part of Verizon, which now has both those companies underneath them. So obviously Yahoo and AOL did a lot of the same things. So there was a lot of restructuring going on and things that happened. But after those companies were all merged together, but now all in all they are essentially a part of Oath, which is a part of Verizon. And lastly, just the different websites that I use to gather all of this information together. I just really want to thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.